What's going on, people, and welcome to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time, the podcast where we get to speak to incredible gamers across the globe. Now I go by the name of Mr. Midas, and once again, thank you for all of the love for the channel. We are trying to hit 5K by the end of the year, so please share the videos, tell your friends to tell a friend. Look, I need you to like, I need you to comment. It helps the algorithm share our videos, so we need you to do all of that. But it's not about all of that right now. It's about the incredible guest that I have on today's show, because I have a streamer. She is the biggest Pokemon fan. We are talking Nintendo Switch gang. You can catch her doing reactions to your favorite movie trailers, and she is a busy bee in them Twitter streets. Rhea, aka the Glimmering Harpy, welcome to Too Many Games. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk some games with you. And we're going to start in a specific way. We're not even going to talk about games straight away. I'm just going to talk about heart interactions. Now, one of the things that I find very important in this space is I get hit up by people all of the time who want to get into the gaming space and they want to network and they want to do things. And you are very, very good at building relationships and things, because we've just literally met via Twitter conversations, you retweeting, having back and forth in different threads. And that's something that's really, really dope and proper poignant about you. So I just wanted to give you your flowers and say you're doing great at what you're doing to be seen. But I want to talk some gaming. Now, I know your first console was the PlayStation 1, but I know your favorite, just like one of my favorite consoles, is the Nintendo Switch. So I want to start with the Nintendo Switch. What is it about this console that you love so much?
It's the mobility. I am able to travel with it and get the full experience of playing the game just as I would if I'm at home. And I've never been someone who's been on the cutting edge of needing the latest hardware or the most impressive graphics. I'm just looking for a great game experience. And a lot of us know Nintendo has some of the most valuable, if not like the most well-known IPs in the industry. And folks who love them, like Super Mario, Zelda, Metroid, folks will want those experiences again and again, even though we may continue to repurchase them with every new console. It's that allure of the fact that these IPs basically set the foundation for the game experience and how modern games are even designed. So yeah, Nintendo just being a cornerstone in everyone's mind as far as like being a gamer, it's definitely one for me, if not just, you know, the tent pole that has designed my entire taste for games. So of course, being able to play them on the go, being able to be in the comfort of my bedroom and play it while I'm catching people's streams or, you know, chatting with folks on Twitter, it allows me to manage all the different tasks of my day while still being able to pick it up, play for a few hours, put it back down, get back to real life. So yes, it's just perfect for my lifestyle as well.
Do you know what? It's so funny because a lot of people think of Nintendo IP as kiddie. So the Marios, the Zeldas, the Pokemon. But I actually think the Nintendo Switch is the best console for adults. Like, a lot of my friends who just don't have time to be able to put into gaming like they used to, I say to them, fam, get a Nintendo Switch. Like, if you're chilling with your missus and she's watching her soaps, you can play it in the background. If you're traveling, you could just be catching a train to work, you can jump on your Nintendo Switch. And I remember the first time seeing a Nintendo Switch advert. Like, I'm a big Nintendo guy. Like, the main consoles I play is PlayStation. I love every PlayStation console, and that's probably where I put the bulk of my gaming. But I've always had Nintendo consoles, and I remember the first time seeing the announcement of the Switch and seeing the guy play Legend of Zelda, and then he just picked it up and continued. And I was like, oh my days, that is so sick. Like, how does that work? And it's just so seamless. And like you said, Nintendo is so good at their IPs and really like creating incredible experiences. But not only just Nintendo, like my Switch has become my RPG machine. Like I play so much RPGs. Like we both similar love RPGs from Japan. And so tell me some of the games on the Nintendo Switch that's really caught you. Of the it's what the Switch is 6 years old now. So in the last 6 years of loving your Switch, what are some of the games that really jump out to you?
Yeah, so to your point about the accessibility factor for games, especially for gamers who are kind of lapsed in terms of like how often they game, or it's been some years. Up until when the Nintendo Switch came out, I was kind of one of those lapsed gamers. I would pick up the latest Pokemon game, play that on my 3DS, and of course I picked up like every Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch as well. But as far as the games when it originally came out, there was Breath of the Wild, and I think maybe a Bomberman game as well. So I got into Breath of the Wild for a little bit, and then eventually Super Mario Odyssey came out, and another really awesome game that I love, or series, Octopath Traveler. And that is a very like, it's called HD 2D as far as like the style that it's made in. It takes a lot of notes from SNES role-playing games, and yeah, it's a turn-based RPG. I love it because it has like those visual tropes that are really attractive to me as far as my personal experiences being more retro leaning. And back to like Super Mario Odyssey, to your point about this person that you're interacting with being able to pick up Zelda and enjoy playing it for an extended period of time, that's how approachable Super Mario Odyssey was for me. And it was somewhat like me not having like too much experiences with the 3D Mario games outside of maybe the last one being Super Mario Galaxy or Sunshine. Like I had, like I said, some years in between when I had that experience with Super Mario 3D games, and somewhat on the Wii as well. And more or less, my memories of it were in the 2D space. So yeah, even though it was kind of a jump and more of like a higher learning curve in order to figure out the controls. I was even trying to play it with the Joy-Con at one point with two in my hand on my big screen. And then eventually I got it down more on like the mobile handhold mode of playing it, since that's just, you know, it just feels good to play it that way. And I still feel like I get the same experience doing it. So yeah.
Rhea. I'm telling you, when I played Super Mario Odyssey, that is probably some of the most fun I've played gaming in years. Like that game is incredible, and I like to be lost in stories and adventures. So Legend of Zelda, that's me. The Final Fantasies, the Witchers, those grand stories, Skies of Arcadia, and Odyssey was just so great. Like I never forget going to New Donk City. And when you get to New Donk City and you get to play like the old school Donkey Kong level, and the music's playing and they're singing and Pauline singing, like I swear I was getting goosebumps. And I enjoy Mario. Like I like Mario a lot. I love Zelda. But no game in the last, probably the only game that I would say probably felt that fun was swinging in New York as Peter Parker. But that experience was so sick, and Nintendo was so dope at making simple mechanics so cool. Like Cappy is such a dope mechanic, just being able to dash your cap and become something. And obviously you're saying that you like the retro games, being able to go from the 3D to the 2D, the back and forth, sick. Proper sick. I proper loved it. And then it's weird. So I grew up playing like some pixel JRPGs. Like I played a little bit of Secret of Mana, like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past is one of my favorite games. But I'm not crazy about that art style. I much prefer the newer graphics. But you see that 2D, 3D art style that Octopath does? Sick. I proper love it. I think for 2D games, that's exactly where they should be. What other games would you love to see like remade with that art style?
Oh, definitely Secret of Mana, to your point. I think that title. Oh, and Chrono Trigger. Oh my gosh, we've been clamoring on Twitter all day, all night. I will literally get into conversations with folks about Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger. These 30-year-old games, like, people are still like I said, it's something that is so, like, you have a visceral connection with playing it on original hardware, up to the point where, like, that is basically what that game represents to you, because a lot of people, that was their first introduction to role-playing games, if not earlier Final Fantasy games. It's a little before my time. Like, I got more into gaming in the PS1 range, and then I went back and sort of discovered some of the Super Nintendo games as well. But yeah, even PS1 had access to Breath of Fire. Oh my gosh, Breath of Fire. Gosh, you are just making my brain just, you know, run through like, oh, please acquire this IP, acquire this IP. Someone please sell it to someone who could publish it or remaster it. So yeah, to answer your question, those would all be games made in the HD 2D style that I think myself and probably the majority of the people that I interact with the most, especially on Twitter and on YouTube, they would love to see those for sure.
See, I'm probably in the minority because I would want to see Secret of Mana, or not Secret of Mana. I would want to see Chrono Trigger made like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm talking full realistic, like looking like Goku. Like I want realistic Frog who, like, that's what I would want. Like that would be a level for me.
So I don't know if you've played Dragon Quest XI. I'm going to be ramping up into that, but would you like to see it in that style, or would you want something more realistic like Final Fantasy 15 and 16?
No, I want it realistic. Like I want it that realistic. If not, I would more go with a Persona-S kind of style than a Dragon Quest style.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I can totally see that as well, because what I was really motivated by Dragon Quest XI is that a lot of folks were recommending it to me who I knew were like diehard 2D RPG fans. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I trust y'all's judgment. I will get into it, especially with the more turn-based combat. I know not a lot of folks who are heavy modern gamers appreciate the turn-based combat. They want real-time action combat. I like both. But yeah, as far as like being able to control like strategy and tactics, that's where my personal taste kind of leans more towards.
Yeah.
And although like Dragon Quest XI is a very modern looking game compared to older Dragon Quest games, the fact that it kind of ramps me up as someone who has a preferred graphic style, but these characters still very much look stylized in 3D format, although very like leaning more towards that Chrono Trigger classic Dragon Quest style. So yeah, it kind of eases you in, even though it is a newer presentation of these characters. It knows what its core audience wants, and it's still trying to, you know, level up as a modern IP. So yes, it's a happy medium of both.
I'm with you as well. I love both. Like I've never understood the hate for turn-based. Like I've only recently got into strats. Like I wasn't into strats at all, which is weird considering how much I love RPGs, JRPGs, although we're just calling them RPGs. But what randomly got me into strategy games, most random game, is Mario plus Rabbids. So random.
Yes, I love that game as well. Oh my gosh, 1 and 2, like they're so slept on. And I would actually go back and forth with folks like, even though it came out as a $60 game, I knew in my heart, like, yes, I know it's going to price drop very quickly. So I kind of discouraged folks to pick it up right away, even though I know it's a good game and it deserves $60. Unfortunately, Ubisoft, in their pattern of behavior, is to you can kind of count on them like clockwork to have these game sales for their IPs and their releases. So I just wanted to kind of add that as well.
Yeah.
Like I look for a lot of value in order to collect physical content.
Yeah.
So one of the things I look for is like I can just predict a sale from this publisher. So yeah.
That's hilarious. So yeah, so that got me into them, and then I fell in love with Free Houses. So Three Houses was my first Fire Emblem game. And I just love to be able to sit down on a couch, have maybe a podcast on the background, or maybe just catch up on something, not something too serious, but just be able to relax, have my Switch. And that's what I did with Fire Emblem Engage this year, because last year I played hardly any RPGs. I think I was playing so much big PlayStation action adventures that I didn't play much RPGs. And yeah, I love that about my Switch. But then I also do love like, I'm super excited for Final Fantasy 16. I do also love those big experiences, because one of my favorite games of the last couple years was Tales of Arise. Like, I love Tales of Arise, and Tales of Arise is even though it's kind of anime, it's still quite graphically pushing, and it's got the combat's real time, and it's lots. So you need a big console to be able to manage them. And I do love those experiences, and I think we should be able to have both. We should be able to have the turn-based from a pixel art style to an anime style, like as mentioned earlier, like Persona. I love Persona. Like, Persona 5 Royal is one of my top tier games. I've completed it on the PS5, on the PS4. I platinumed it on the PS5. I did the real ending, the bad ending, and the good ending, and then now I'm gonna play it on my Switch.
Yes, if anyone needed any convincing that you are heralding just like games that take notes from old school games and a lot of these the tropes like fans like me are looking for in their experiences, yeah, you're definitely someone who I would look for as far as like recommending games that, like, oh, well, I'm kind of used to this. Well, yeah, you can identify the traits that this person is looking for in a modern experience, so it's not as intimidating to jump into. So especially with Fire Emblem, because that IP has kind of skyrocketed in popularity since the 3DS, but it was very much dormant since then. So yes, the fact that, you know, Engage and Three Houses are advancing the IP while still paying attention to what the core fans want, who have been there for, like, as far as like being a legacy fan, is really important to us.
Yeah, and it's a very hard line. Like, it's very difficult. Like I said, Final Fantasy, that's my guy. Cloud Strife there, got my Buster Sword. And the Final Fantasy VII Remake is completely divided. Like, certain fans hate it. They're angry that all of the game isn't being able to be done at once. And that completely divided the fan base. And then you've got something like Resident Evil Remake, which has just been redone, and Resident Evil 2 Remake. And that wasn't divided at all. Like, all of the original fans loved that, and the new people got into it as well. So it's a really hard line for developers to actually be able to achieve the goal where they satisfy the original fan base and then bring in new people as well.
Yes, definitely. So I like that in terms of Square, although they're not like the perfect publisher, they at least, they're to an extent able to read that their audience contains the legacy fans, folks who appreciate the 2D game performance as far as like turn-based combat and then some action combat as well. They know the value of their IPs, and I feel like they have their ear to the ground to what their audience wants. And they also are very much aware of where the industry is going as far as advancing the IP for Final Fantasy VII. They know that legacy fans want a remake, similar to how you mentioned that modern graphics and presentation are very important to folks like you. Yeah. Although you appreciate, you know, where these games have advanced from, you're looking for them to push the needle. So I think Square Enix is very much aware of that, and they're aware of fans like me who I pre-ordered actually Final Fantasy Pixel remasters 1 through 6 because, like I said, the experiences of those really early Final Fantasy games, especially on the NES, are completely foreign to me.
Yeah,
as far as like having access to them or experiences with them. So I get to see them in all their glory in a very much modern format that has a lot of the quality of life features we expect in modern RPGs, and I still get that story experience of seeing how each game is kind of a standalone experience, and I'm able to kind of like get more of a a feel of like gaming history. Like these are where like our knowledge of what it all started. Yes.
Yeah, this is where it started. This is the core. Ray, we're running out of time, but we cannot go without talking about Pokemon. I know your fan base will come and hunt me down if we don't talk about Pokemon before you leave. So just really quickly, I want to know, what is it about the series that really captured your heart? Because for me, I've always wished I loved Pokemon like other people. Like people go crazy for Pokemon. And I think because I was just a bit older, I think like I played Final Fantasy before I played Pokemon. So then playing Final Fantasy and then going and play Pokemon, it felt a little bit baby's first RPG for me. So it's never been able to grab me the same way it's grabbed other people. But I know people, like it's their everything. So what is it about Pokemon that you love?
I absolutely adore that. Similar to what I said about Square, I feel like Nintendo and Game Freak, Pokemon as a company, they understand what their core audience wants. They also understand that the turn-based combat is kind of a tentpole for the experience of how a lot of their core fans as well as newer fans are familiar with the games from like Red, Blue, Green, and onward. So keeping that core turn-based combat is something that I'm glad Pokemon as an IP never really wavered from, but they also sort of experimented with real-time encounters, because the random encounters are definitely a point of contention for a lot of folks, even retro gamers, but being able to control that by having more of an idea of your surroundings and being able to interact more with environments and nature around you, especially in the newer Nintendo Switch Pokemon titles, is something that I can appreciate, because like I mentioned with Final Fantasy, the quality of life improvements for the retro feeling experiences, even though it's a turn-based combat style, I still get the ability to control my experience and get more of a more immersive feeling of, oh yeah, I am transported into this other world. It doesn't feel as disconnected as maybe the older games would for someone who is trying to experience a Pokemon game for the first time. And the tropes for what I'm looking for in older Pokemon games are still very much respected and present in the newer games too. So that's kind of like, you know, my love letter to Pokemon as a whole.
No, it is a very special series, and one of the reasons why I will always fly the flag for Pokemon is because it made so many people gamers. So many people were not gamers until the Pokemon series, and then being able to actually be able to experience it. And for me, something that's really, really important about Pokemon is a lot of people who financially might have come from families that weren't that well off, who couldn't afford lots of games. You were able to put hours upon hours into that one game, and that's super, super important. Like I know you put like 300 hours when you was a kid.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, having that value of an experience in a single game, a game that you probably are going to play for the next year because you have to look forward to the next holiday to get more games. That was my experience as a kid. So yes, to your point, you're absolutely on the money right there.
Love it. Rhea, we have run out of time, but I could have spoke to you for gaming. I could have spoke to you about gaming all day. Once again, I just want to say I love how you are online, how you interact with people. Love that you're always on other people's podcasts and pushing the envelope. So I just want you to shout out to you. You've got a dope YouTube channel where you stream, you do all different games, you're all about Mario Kart. Where can the people come and find you?
Yes, I am Glimmering Harpy on all platforms. I am on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. I'm starting up Kick as well, to a fun experiment as well. And yeah, feel free to come through and definitely hit me up on Twitter as well. I love networking. I love the community. I love getting to meet new people. So yes, I'm just here for, you know, all the love and support of fellow gamers like myself.
Exactly. Go and join the Glimmering gang. And thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. You are the MVPs. Remember, we want to hit 5K by the end of the year. So please subscribe, share, tell a friend to share, tell a friend, and make sure you comment below and let me know, are you a Pokemon fan? Do you love Pokemon like that? Was Pokemon Arceus your first Pokemon? Let me know and we'll continue the conversation below. I've been Mr. Midas. She's been Rhea. You've been the MVPs. We out of here, man. Peace.